I just want to give you a few logistics for some of you that have not been in one of these rooms before. There are men and women's restrooms right through the door over here. If you go to the right, it's the women's restroom. To the left, it's the men's. So help yourself whenever it's needed. My name is Jim Kozak. I tried to introduce myself to you before as you came in. I've been working with Greg Lansing for 25 years, and we've done a lot of amazing projects in our time together. And my hair was a different color, and I had a lot more of it when I started. So it's a crazy business that we have. Before we get started, I'd be curious to ask how many people, based on your history here in Hemet, how many people have lived in Hemet for less than 5 years? Can I see a show of hands? Okay. Less than 5 years. Less than 10 years. Okay. And how many have lived from 10 plus years? Okay. So we got the majority of 10 plus years people here, almost little, maybe 60-40 split here. And it's really great for us to see a community where people are interested in what's going on in their community. They're willing to invest their time to learn more about what's happening and possibly provide some input, which is what we're here for today, on how they'd like to shape the city and discuss what are some of the things that might be missing in the community that we'd like to have that currently services are not available. It's interesting. I remember Greg and I were involved in a project called Rancho Diamante, which is the old Page Ranch, and that started around 2000. And Hemet was a much smaller city at that time, and it's grown quite a bit as you drive down Newport Road or down the road. And it's exciting to see how certain parts of the city have grown, but also certain parts have not. And there's some real deficiencies. And it's a real challenge, I think, for city councils and city staff to figure out how can we fill in some of these blanks to make a more vibrant community for everyone that lives in Hemet and the surrounding area. So part of our presentation today is going to get feedback from you on what you'd like to see, what you think might be missing. And I'll just kind of start off by just asking a few questions to the audience here. So please raise your hand if you have some comments, and we're going to write down some of these so we can have a record of it. So if anybody can give me some input on what you think is missing in Hemet in terms of services or ideas. Yes, Michael?
A real hospital.
Okay. Second that. Okay, so what are the choices right now of where you go for medical care?
Hemet Hospital downtown. They don't even have a maternity ward. The company that owns it owns 3 or 4 properties here in Hemet. 2 of them are not even income producing. They own the movie theater, which was shut down. They've got a building right up the street here that they bought from Chase Bank a couple of years ago, put a real nice fancy high dollar sign on it, and now it's a boarded up eyesore, which is one of the first things you see as you come into Hemet. The company that owns the hospital owns, I think, 12 other hospitals. They don't even have it on their website because they're not too proud of it. And it's not a full service hospital for 90,000 people.
What kind of urgent care do you have in the city?
From that and a whole bunch of, stop and doctor,
Okay.
Roy, who's the owner of that hospital?
Can I ask you that?
You were talking about? Chaudhry, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually,
KPC.
Okay.
We've had to call an ambulance but for a number of our friends very recently, they will only take us to Emmett Hospital, which is a terrible place. We want to go to Loma Linda, and the answer is, if we go take something to Loma Linda, we are understaffed for Emmett. So we really need better hospital emergency by far.
I don't think just, we take the movie theater and change it into a hospital. It's got plenty of space.
And a lot of parking. Yeah.
A lot of parking.
Oh, the one, I know.
It's an interesting thing that's going on, you know, as our baby boomers are aging, there's more need for good care. And you think that medical services would be expanding, and they are in some areas. And Hemet is growing out of where it's about 100,000 people, which is the magic number for a lot of demographic information and milestones that are required for certain companies to invest and make a commitment into the community. But it's not easy, and so you know, that's part of the reason why you have some vacant buildings there and a company that either doesn't have the resources or they don't have the investment capital to make the commitment necessary. Normally, you look at a city's population and then the outlying area of usually around 10 miles surrounding it and get that population as a driver to get going. So this is good information. Okay, in addition to a hospital, what else? Yes?
Trader Joe's?
Better shopping options, huh?
Trader Joe's.
Well, I was thinking of other grocery stores like maybe a Vons or a Ralph's or.
What do you have now?
That's all there is.
Yeah.
State Brothers.
You know, we have a project in the city of Aruba Valley, which is right off the 15 there, and they have now, I think, about 115,000 population. And they have like 4 Stater Brothers, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, what can we do to get more now? They got an Aldi's and some more stuff happening, but it takes development to bring that in.
More
And
people first.
and yeah, they want more rooftops, and also part of the concern that some of these grocery stores have is if half the commercial space is vacant. You know, we see some of these malls that are shut down, and if half the commercial space is vacant, they said we can't go into a community where we have a 15% vacancy rate, because you know it shows that there's not enough support from that standpoint. Anyway,
Wouldn't that be because the people are looking, so instead of going shopping in downtown Hemet, because there's nothing there, everybody goes far away. We go to Temecula, Menifee, we go somewhere where the stores are nice,
Yep,
because it's not here.
yep.
And we gotta go somewhere.
And there's studies that have been done that shows how much tax revenue the city is losing every day because people are shopping. You know, that's one choice we have. We can pick where we want to go, and they're losing that tax revenue. So it's a real challenge, you know, from that standpoint. Yes.
We need our roads done before anything new is built. We can't handle it. Everything is deteriorating, falling apart, and we cannot handle any more big construction before roads are in place. They are falling apart like crazy, and our cars are taking a beating. If you do drive around Hemet, it's horrible to get anywhere. It's horrible, horrible.
Yeah, and I agree with her. As somebody who's still working, I go out every day to Riverside, and the exits in and out of Hemet are very limited, and it's mind-boggling to me, all the new housing that is coming, and the Little 74 still the same, and Newport Road still the same, and the Gilman Sprint Road, which I thought they were gonna make it wider all the way, they just widen it at some points. So they're basically chalking the town.
It's congested.
Joking. Yeah.
They're choking the town. And your project, which, I mean, it may be great, but as resident, besides the hospital, I mean, the trucks are gonna come to drop and pick up merchandise. And the little trucks, they're gonna bring or take the merchandise that the trucks, big trucks brought in. So it's, and on the proposal, environmental thing, they only talk about the big rigs, but they don't have numbers about the small cars, the vans, the delivery trucks, the delivery vans, the employees. And one road is a two-way road, and outside the community, it's already broken. It's 24, the county comes and breaks it, 2 weeks later, it's gone again. And the tracks, same thing, the custom for the tracks is already in repair, so the city can't keep up with that. And you know road repair is expensive. And I doubt that this kind of project will create revenue for the city to offset the cost.
Okay, we're gonna talk about traffic a little later.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your input. Yes, ma'am, back there.
I know what I'd like to see, I just don't know how to get there. Maybe Ed Gates could help us out.
Say that again?
Maybe Ed Gates could help us out. I know what I'd like to see, but I don't know how to get there in a money-making way. But I feel strongly that we need some really nice facilities for training our young people that are hoping without jobs, for jobs in the new world. We have a lot of menial jobs here, but those aren't supporting people, and people think this is a cheap place to live, but I know the people living in these places, and even when they're giving government support, they're paying $1,500 rent for an apartment. That doesn't count utilities and just trying to get in. So they need jobs that are gonna be sustaining for them and their families, that are also gonna help them, training. We're looking at such new crazy stuff we can't wrap our arms around, AI, etc. And we can't just give up though and say, well, there's nothing we can do. Well, there is something we can do. I don't know what it is, but I feel that it is something that could be done and still in a way that could be a profit to somebody.
Okay. It's interesting how when you step back a few steps, it's, if it was easy, it would have already been done. Okay, so there are challenges, there are constraints, and part of the process that I've seen work successfully in other communities is you have to take baby steps, and you can't fix it all at once, but if you can start building on a foundation. The thing that many people don't realize is the amount of investment capital that it takes to get stuff done. Any new development does have to pay for infrastructure, plus not only building the homes. A 200 lot subdivision typically will require over $200 million of investment capital. So when these big public companies look at, allocating investment capital, where do they want to invest? What kind of yield are they going to get? What's the sales price of the homes, or what's the return on capital for commercial? And capital goes where they get the best return and less risk. So when you get into communities that are lacking, there's a risk factor goes up, and when the economy is tight, capital goes on more of a sure thing. And that's part of the challenge that I think the city staff, city manager, and is facing in trying to build a foundation that will encourage more investment capital to come into the city to build this. And then they do have a vision plan, the city does, which a lot of cities don't. So that's a good first step. But how do we get from, as you mentioned, how do we get from where we're at now to start implementing from there? You have a question?
Yeah, I looked up the median income in Hemet, and it's below poverty. 2023, it listed it as $53,000. Now that's a problem, because when people are looking to bring their stores or Costco or anything into this community, they don't feel like the people have the money to spend to support it. And so how is a warehouse going to raise a median income? Because first of all, it's going to people keep people that have higher incomes from coming in? Who wants to move into a community with all warehouses and trucks all over?
Well, it
So you
requires
have
a
to build
balance.
stuff that's going to draw people with higher incomes, I hate to say it. And when you're in a community that's all retired people, they may have money and they're spending it, but it probably doesn't affect the, median income.
You know, one of the important things for a community is to have a balance. If it's all active adult, you know, active adult purchases of a home pays very low school fees compared to a traditional house. I think the difference is something like $2 a square, $1 or $1.50, $2 a square foot for active adult, and close to $5 a square foot for a traditional house. So there's, you know, because a traditional house implies having kids and more usage. So if you have just active adult, it doesn't generate much revenue other than buying power. But if the buying power is leaving the city to buy elsewhere, you know, it actually is a drain on the city's reserves and resources when you look at it from a pure economic standpoint. So how we counteract that is to provide information to show people that we have X amount of dollars leaving the city every day. And if we can capture that by bringing in investment capital and creating more local jobs, that's going to boost things. And you know, warehouse jobs, there's been a lot of talk about what they actually pay. In the Newland project, the values are much higher than what some of the opponents were representing from a college study that was done years ago. It's quite a bit higher. And but right now,
What are the numbers?
I'm here to get input.
What are the numbers for pay at that? What are they offering at these new warehouses for full-time benefits? What are the hourly wages?
You know, I don't have that information handy. Do you have it?
Yeah, they're gonna start out at 60,000 plus benefits, and most of them 65 and up, and then the management positions are in the 90s.
Yeah, so let me introduce you to Greg.
Oh, okay, don't believe it.
So let me introduce you to Greg, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how some of these ideas of how to make Hemet and create a vision for Hemet and fill in some of the empty spaces and missing pieces could possibly be achieved on some of the stuff that Lansing Companies is doing, because Lansing has more acreage than just the Newland property. So with that, Greg, I'll turn it over to you now to take the notes.
Yeah, so I think I'm very glad to say, former Lansing Companies, Jim and I have been partners on projects for many years. As he mentioned, we've been involved in Rancho Diamante for 25 years. We're happy you're here. We welcome the input. Before I get started, how many mothers are we? Because this is Mother's Day weekend. Hey Jim, do me a favor.
Sure.
Can you give these lovely mothers a...
Pandering.
Everybody likes chocolate. Well, I know I like chocolate. Take two if you want.
I'm a cat mom.
Okay.
A cat mom.
Thank you.
And the cat dads are welcome too.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, while we're doing that, first of all, I want to apologize to everybody. I should have been out here, and Jim and I should have been out here a long time ago. I get it. We weren't. Newland has been under contract with us. We're the landowners. They're the actual builder with the tenant. Been under contract with us for, I think, 3 years. During that time period, our contract called for them to handle the community outreach, and therefore we were precluded from doing so. And normally I'd say, well, I don't care, but I do care because I don't want them to sue, right? I mean, not that they're going to, I'm just saying there's that risk if I come out and then they don't like what they say. Anyway, so we're out here now, better late than never. We have, as Jim said, we have a lot of land out here. I'll look up the next. So we own all of these properties. My point to show you this is, because we're aligned. Our interests are somewhat aligned. Maybe not 100%, but we don't want a piece of junk down here. We don't want, I was very upset, like you were, to see a parking lot of trucks on that site. That bothered me. But it was too late. I couldn't do anything about it. So we're coming in to try and make this much better for everybody and for us. Because like I said, we own this 223 acres right across, most of you in Solara, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so beautiful community that Jim and I designed. We did the landscape, we did the layout, I mean, we did all that to make it nice, and it is nice. And, you know, so we're gonna do something pretty similar on this side eventually. We're starting what's called a mapping process now. That will take probably a year, so you won't see anything happening for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years on it physically, but there's work going on behind the scenes. So that's all of this property here, and so. Pardon me? Residential, all residential, and it'll be very similar to what you have here, roughly 5,000 square foot lots, maybe some are 4s, maybe some are 6, but pretty similar to what you have. So we're looking for that. We don't think it'll be active adult.
I have a question about the
Sure.
specific plan zoning. So is all of the zoning in the specific plan gonna be residential?
I'll get to that, but mostly, yes. So this is in this big plan as residential, and we will have roughly, you know, this will be probably, like I said, almost the same as what you guys have, several hundred homes, almost 1,000 eventually over years. Then this piece, to answer your question, is commercial in the specific plan. It's 23 acres. From a marketing standpoint, 23 acres is way too large for a commercial property there. So we're gonna probably come in and reduce it to about 10 acres of commercial, something like a little neighborhood center, and then have some little higher density townhome type of product behind it, about 15 or 12 acres. Then we also own this parcel as part of our property, and this parcel as part of our property. They are not in the original specific plan. They are zoned residential, 4 units per acre. So again, pretty similar to what you have here. So that's our intent to move forward on those at the moment. There was talk about asking this to be industrial, and the reason being is because the county has their community plan, and all of this is industrial business park right next door. And so the county said to us, well, California Avenue is a buffer, but the canal might be a better buffer. So I'm just telling you right up now, we think it's been residential, but we're in discussion, that could be some sort of industrial use, but to be determined. Pretty far from you folks, so, but just so you know. And then this piece right here is 100 acres. We are in the process of working with the city on that. Also as residential, we believe because of the market condition, we want different, yes sir?
When you said construction of the area that you want to do commercial, possibly commercial in the future, what street is that? Is that Warren?
Yeah, this is Warren and
No, the other one, to the left.
Oh, over here?
Yeah.
Industrial, possibly
What
enough.
street is that?
This is California, Stetson, the canal, and I forget this one, it's just north of Simpson, yeah. Okay, so anyway, so this one we're in, and we want to have a diversity of product type for housing. As you know, there's a huge housing shortage all over California, Nevada, and so forth. This will be, again, single family, small lot. This one's probably going to be more of a motor court concept. You drive by Newport Road here, you see the sign says courts, C-O-U-R-T-S. That's the motor court. It's basically a single family house, much smaller lot than when you're probably on like 3,000 feet, maybe something like that. Not much of a backyard, but people are loving it because it's a little more affordable. So then we get down to obviously the project at hand. So we own this. It's 62 acres here, 8 acres here, and as you can see in the city zone code, the property question is business park, which does allow the big industrial buildings. In the general plan, they had like a mixed use overlay, which is this. This is how they part of the city, so it is still zoned business park. My point in showing you this is, I want to show the next one actually.
Excuse me,
Yes,
it wasn't business park originally, was it?
years ago, it was owned by Metropolitan Water District, and it was
Residential?
some sort of,
At some point it was residential oriented.
I'd have to go back and look.
But I'm saying, the public was not, there was no transparency when it went from residential to business zoning.
That was before our ownership.
I know, but I'm just saying, that's what the main complaint a lot of people have here. The city was not transparent. There was no allowance for us to voice our view at that time. They just made the change without public.
You know, I'm curious, because that's a good question, because normally they have to do a complete public hearing, particularly for 2 steps. One, when they annex this into the city as business park, there should have been a hearing for that. Then, when they changed their general plan to make it mixed use, there had to be a hearing for that.
There wasn't.
So, anyway, we look into it, but it's kind of water under the bridge, it's done, it's done.
Well, I would say, yeah, most, you would say that, I would say 80% of the people prefer to keep it residential, because of just the road traffic. No matter what they do to widen the roads, it's still a main thoroughfare to get in and out of town.
Well, and let me get to the next point, it's a very good point you brought up. So this is your city's general plan, okay? The site we're talking about is right there. The entire city is green and yellow, almost, which is residential and open space and things like that. The red, of course, is your commercial Florida Avenue, we all know what that's about, all commercial. So your job centers, your opportunity to create jobs is really, other than commercial, which as you've mentioned are not high-paying jobs. So you have two industrial centers or business centers, employment centers. This, which is us, we're talking about, and then our neighbor to the north. And then the area by the airport, which is mostly undevelopable because of the approach, you can't build under the. And then you have a little area up here, which is on Esplanade, I think. But then all these other colored areas are in the county. So right now, this is not really. So the only area in the entire city to create employment, for the most part, is this little piece and then us. That's why I think it's important to see. And obviously the city was thoughtful in doing so because they put it all on the very west end. It would have been really silly if it was way out here and you have to go all the way through town. So they made it as quick and easy as they possibly could. But every city needs jobs, otherwise they don't survive. Jobs, revenue, commercial, all that kind of stuff. And so it helps offset, because when you build homes, it's actually a money loser for the city. That they charge fees, they charge this and that, but to provide police, fire, all those services that we all need, you need commercial and you need industrial. The houses do not pay enough for it. And so that's where we come in on these kind of projects. Again, this is just another exhibit, but when I said we're aligned, okay, we've been working to keep this community as nice as possible, because we have a lot of pride in it. We've been out here 23 years. We didn't come in last year. So it means a lot to us. My reputation is everything to me. I mean, if there's people pissed at me, I don't sleep at night. And because of what's been going on, I'm not sleeping much. But Highway 79, as you all know, eventually will be a major highway, almost a freeway, but not quite freeway standards. So they've been working on this for a number of years. We actually lobbied. They really wanted it, they being RCTC and the county and Caltrans, they wanted it to be here. I didn't want it coming right through our west end of our project and much closer, you know, not in our project, but close to our project. So we actually lobbied, and the alignment is going to be this one. I'm sorry, I'm blocking. The alignment is going to be this one right here, and we've already allocated part of this right away for them because we own all this property as well. They are actually moving, at least right now, they're moving pretty quickly on the segment from Florida down to existing Winchester. They got federal funding for this. It's about a 3-mile stretch, something like that. So that's moving along. We've been in touch with them, and so that's going to be happening in the next, couple of years, 3 years is my estimate. From there north, I mean, it's all about funding, So that's when I say we've been looking out for the community as best we can, because we have a big stake here. Yes.
I have a question. Did you own the Kirby property?
Nothing to do with it at all.
You didn't have that?
No, there was a rumor we had nothing to do with it.
Because that's an eyesore. It's hideous.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I appreciate you clarifying that. So from here, we're talking about housing. The city is way underserved in terms of their RHNA numbers. Regional Housing Needs Assessment is a state law, state ordinance. The state of California, as you probably read, has been coming down really hard on cities and counties that don't have enough residential housing, particularly affordable housing. Doesn't mean it has to be, super cheap or anything like that, but affordable housing is important. So the city's behind 6,000 units, which is a lot. Any event, so the good news is our project is 500 acres. It's going to help them a fair bit with that. So again, this is the Caltrans. We talked about that.
When you say our project, which project are you?
Yeah, I overall, all of this stuff we have up here.
All your projects?
Yeah, all of this. I mean, this is all residential. Everything, you have to keep in mind, most everything we're doing is the residential. All of this, this. and possibly this one, we don't know, that's, jury's out on that. And then there'll be residential on the back part of this and a more high density. So we'll be working with the city and so forth on that.
Question.
Sure.
Do you know who owns the property north of the Newland project?
Oh, yeah,
Private-
that'd be this one?
Yeah.
That's 150 acres owned by Dr. Charles Ho. I've spoken to him, he's owned it for 25 years. We tried to buy it 20-some years ago to make the project more square. He's pretty unreasonable. I'm not gonna say anything negative about him. He's a nice enough guy, but he's not reasonable.
I saw the plan for the community, the schools, that they're planning to build schools on that area, right in front of the blue thing.
I hadn't heard that, but I definitely look into it, because that's another thing we need to know about, you know. In any event, we then come down to the traffic numbers. So we're gonna get to it in a second, but yes,
Is that new 79 kind of on is it California Road?
yeah, it's, here, I'll go back to it. It kind of lines up with, California. This is California. And then, like I said, we gave them, or we're working on giving them 14 acres, right, for this alignment, we don't know this. Anyhow. So,
Where's the truck parking on that map? You wanted to put in parking for your trucks.
yeah, we're gonna get to it. Thank you for asking. Give me just a minute. So the new project, just so you know, what we've done is we have taken and gone, this is the old plan, okay? You're all familiar with this. We were all upset about it, including myself. I really hated this. This I thought, well, whatever, it could be, but then we're down to now, the Newland folks have their tenant. The tenant has